Umption.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a written line, but it makes me happy. And so, how about this? We haven't really talked about our favorite moments. And so in this movie, you have Geena Davis living her life. You get the treehouse introduced, which I love. You get the different aspects, her husband, her family life. She has that fun interaction with that drunk guy where she's telling him to blow bubbles, and then
Yeah.
she snaps a deer's neck, and later on she snaps that dude's head after their house fight. Eventually, she's on the news. This guy goes and attacks her one eye. And I'm telling you, man, that fight scene is unbelievable. I love how things explode from the shotgun blast. It's not some of these movies where people shoot guns at each other, they shoot a buckshot shotgun and it doesn't do anything. So it's fun to see the things exploding. He slips on the M&Ms on the floor, very Home Alone style. He shoots the refrigerator. She kills him with a glass pie and then punches
Yes,
him in the
dog.
neck and snaps it. I mean, it's beautiful, man. You get like the knife is brought back up, but it reverses it. And it's a brutal
Wait,
fight, and I think
yeah,
it sets the tone really. What's up?
you cannot forget that tagline at the end. Chefs do that, I think. What
Oh,
she
I
said, I think.
love that. Yeah, chefs do that. Oh, and she's cutting. Oh, I love that scene and just the joy that they're experiencing. But I love the fight scene too because it's it's cool because she's not there yet. She has some of her power. She's starting to get that muscle memory, and so it keeps it dramatic. I love she just throw she and I love too where you don't really think about these in this movie. It's really interesting how she's thinking about her kid first. She
Yeah,
throws her kid to safety first, and then she has
yeah,
to go kill this guy. It's another
yeah,
dynamic I love. Her husband gets destroyed. This chump,
yeah,
but that's what I love too. And you and I are not we're never going to be stars of the movie Red, but I like how in this movie there's I don't know this guy had never been in a fight in his life, so when he goes after one eye, he gets pulverized, and that's how it would happen, right? Like
yeah,
that's so I'm not talking this as a tough guy, like oh this is what I would have done. That's
yeah,
how
yeah.
it would have happened, correct?
No, they're real facts. That's facts. Like it, and I think that's what makes the movie sequences so uh good and so like believable is because of the one because yes the movie is grounded, right? It is very much grounded in real life. So like you said, the average dude who's just a regular suburban dad is not going to do anything to this hardened criminal assassin dude coming to take out his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that she becomes in turn like the savior, but not like you said, reluctantly so, in such a way where they play up that tagline again after she's done kicking old boy's ass and then she's like tasting the friggin' pie on her fingers. Like, I think chefs do that. That's just a testament to like one, good writing, two, good stunt work, and like just three, like good directing. The way that whole sequence was shot was just so dope.
It's so cool. The refrigerator gag and just
Oh
how she
yeah.
gets shot back, and the guy kind of takes her for granted, and then she just smashes the pot. Like, that's what I love about Renny Harlin, and I've been talking about this way too much, but in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, there's a lady who works out. You think she's gonna die by a workbench, but then she gets her arms destroyed, then she becomes a cockroach and she dies.
Yeah,
In
yeah, yeah.
in Deep Blue Sea, you have Jim Whitlock's arm being bit off, then he's used as a battering ram. In Cliffhanger, there's a helicopter fight, then the helicopter gets attached to a cliff, and then they're fighting on a helicopter that's dangling on a cliff. Like, I love how Renny Harlin builds people slipping on M&Ms and killing people with pies in the face. He
Yeah.
always he
Like
always
it's a slapsticky kind of a humor to it.
hmm
Yeah.
And I dig it, and I like how she establishes her power, and then like her toughness, and then we introduce to Sam Jackson, who I love them together. He's like, yeah, turn on the heater. He's like, it doesn't work, but the sound will annoy you, and you won't think about the cold. And then I love when they get in an argument, and he just goes, shut up and look out the window, and they both smile. Like that just, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that was definitely a very like just the chemistry. They have really great chemistry on in every scene that they were in together. And like you said earlier, the way not just Sam, but the way Gina and him like really just made it about the film and how each of them gave to one another in those scenes and how like you could see that little back and forth. I would love to have seen like some behind the scenes of just them interacting on those scenes. Like
Oh
one of my
yeah,
favorites was, like I said earlier, when, you know, he gets kicked out the truck and like she just drives around the block like 3 times and he's just laying on the ground and he decides to light a cigarette. Because I think at that point he realizes like he's in a position now where he is just stuck, right? There's no getting out of it. And he knows she's not going to leave him there. And then she eventually does come back to get him, you know, and that continues to show kind of that relationship that they built throughout the movie. And just that relationship that they have on screen. It was such a funny, like, scene to me. And it was so, like, low key, like, and kind of unexpected. But I love the way he shot, like, the truck just driving around the block, like, several times before she finally decides to say, all right, get in the car, you know, and they pull off. And I think that's one of the strong points to this movie is just kind of how the pacing is just so perfect. It has the perfect pacing, where each action sequence kind of builds off of the last one. And you slowly see her remembering who she is. And, you know, like you said, she slowly, in that first scene, she reluctantly, you know, saves the day. You know, she starts to realize like there's something else going on. Don't know what it is, but there's something going on. And then we fast forward to the train station scene where they're in the depot, and then, you know, she's busting out of windows and shooting, you know, glass
so
like
cool.
a badass and jumping through ice and then coming out. And I think, you know what, honestly, if you really go back, that scene, I think, was where it was that first real initial shock to her system, reminding her of who she was when she hit that ice water. The way he filmed her coming out in slow motion, she's taking that big gasp of air, and it's like she's being reborn out of that frozen, like, ice water. So I feel like that scene was like really that first shock to her system, reminding her who she was. Because then if you remember, then that's when they meet up with old boy. And then now she's on top of, she doesn't trust anybody now. She doesn't trust any friggin' body. And she's questioning every friggin' thing, you know? So yeah,
that's when she becomes the badass. And then the match moment is when she becomes the third version of her character. I would say the hybrid version.
A hybrid. Yeah, definitely. I think, and we can't forget that classic kind of, honestly, I feel like in that scene has definitely been, you know, copied in other movies where she's ice skating across the friggin'.
Oh, that's so badass.
Ice skate, and she's like, and she goes and she's got the gun on her back, and she's, oh man, she's like, yo, there's nothing going to stop Charlie Baltimore. Nothing is going to stop her from her mission, right?
Those headshots. I love it.
Such a, like, Charlie Baltimore in itself, something that's upsetting to me is the fact that Charlie Baltimore hasn't been utilized more in movies. Although the idea of Charlie Baltimore has been used in other movies, Kill Bill, that idea, the whole concept of, you know, a woman loses memory, had a regular, quote unquote, regular life, was an assassin, regains her memories. Oh, now she's a badass and she's seeking revenge. And the father to the daughter is the bad guy. So like the idea and the concept of Charlie Baltimore has been used, but I feel like you said, when she hits that third act and she becomes the Samantha Cain meets Charlie Baltimore, there's so much more story there, and I feel like there's so much more that you could do with that character that really needs to be kind of touched upon and developed.
And you know what I like too about her? Sorry, I keep interrupting you, man, but
No, go ahead.
You inspired me to say something interesting. And as much as I love certain movies, like I love Kill Bill, I love the John Wick movies, but at some points I'm just thinking you're not going to get out of this. You can't just turn down a marker in John Wick 2. You can't. You have to take it. I'm out. No, it doesn't work like that. And I like that Long Kiss Goodnight never gives us that, because they try to take her out, she loses her memory, then she comes back. There's no naive, I'm going to get out. There's no, does that make sense? You're just thinking you're not going to get out, or your stupid choice got people killed. So her amnesia, let's say her husband gets killed. Her amnesia didn't get, like, her choice to leave and marry and get them murdered wasn't her choice. And I think that's endearing. Like, there's no, like, revenge in this movie, if you think about it. So John Wick 2 kills a dog. Kill Bill kills husband, puts her in a coma. There's so many revenge movies. This one's just, who am I?
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, and there is revenge, but the revenge I don't feel is the driving force
No,
for her
it's learning,
intention.
right?
It's her learning of what had happened and what happened to her, which makes her in turn want to, seek revenge. But ultimately, I don't feel like that was the primary objective for her. Whereas like in John Wick, that, like you said, the dog was murdered. That was his primary objective. Like, I'm going to get the motherfuckers that murdered my dog. Right. And, the second one was his car, right? They stole his car. I'm going to get the motherfuckers that stole my car. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure they never do it again. So I feel like the character of Samantha Cain, let's start with Samantha Cain, right? The Samantha Cain character.
She's still funny.
She doesn't play or come across to me as a weak character either, right? In the beginning, they show aspects of her being this sure about herself, individual. Like you said, she looks at the drunk guy and she tells him to blow some bubbles, and like, she has this confidence about her that isn't like this shy, timid, like, oh, I'm just a shy, timid housewife, and I'm a school teacher on the side, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes you immediately like her character from the jump, is you see that kind of confidence in her from the rip, right? And then once all the things start to happen to her, and then she starts to slowly remember who she is and who she's becoming, you see kind of that it's the duality behind Samantha Cain and Charlie Baltimore, right? Samantha Cain subconsciously was something that Charlie Baltimore always wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And when Charlie Baltimore was gone, that's what she gave herself, right? But then when Charlie Baltimore came back, it was still something that she wanted. Even though she wanted to go back to that life, she's still always about that life, right? Charlie Baltimore is about that life. Don't come for me unless I call for you, right? So, but I like the fact that when you get to the third act, you see that. You see this kind of melding of the dualities of Samantha Cain and Charlie Baltimore, where she realizes like, yo, I am, a whole person. Like, I'm not just murder, death, kill, and I'm not just Susie Homemaker, and I can be both and kind of still have a family and still love my daughter and not feel like a shithead about it, right? Because that was her biggest thing, was like she low-key didn't want to face the fact that she had a daughter, right? And she was trying to avoid the daughter because of the way she came about, right? She was more, I feel like, ashamed at how she had the daughter and didn't want to kind of face that initially. And then Sam being the mental, like the moral high road, is like reminding her like, yo, before you was this fly ass Charlie Baltimore chick, you were Samantha fucking Cain. You were a teacher. You had a daughter. Your daughter's worried about you. Like, you should, he's the one kind of reminding her of who she was or who she is. Even though she is Charlie Baltimore, you're still Samantha Cain to a degree. You know what I mean?
It's fun. I'm telling you, man. The right, and I love too what you said about how in the beginning she's still kind of a smartass. Mm-hmm. I like that about her character too, is blowing the bubbles. And then I love the scene where she's
hosting a party and she's like just meeting and greeting everybody and schmoozing. Like, you see the confidence in her character.
And she's still in her head. She still wonders who she is. So but she's just, I don't know, I dig it. And I also love her just quips too before she switches over to Baltimore. And like, I love how she says, he's like, I'm not going to put my gun in my belt. I'm going to shoot my dick off. And she goes, oh, you're a sharpshooter now? And
yeah.
Just the lines that she gives this guy. And when she flashes him and then rips the thing off, like, I don't know, that's afterwards. But it's such I don't know, man. It's just a character we haven't seen. And that's why it's just so refreshing to me and frustrating that people don't really dig it. It's a weird thing, man. This is a good movie. And on IMDb, it's 6.8, which is high. It's 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't know. I also think, I just want to say, I love that. I'm going back to this, but I think these if you think about Mad Max Fury Road, Tom Hardy's performance was really selfless because he took the back seat. In Edge of Tomorrow, Tom Cruise was the weasel, and Emily Blunt was the badass. And listen, man, me and you should not applaud actors for doing what's right.
Yeah, right.
But like, and I hate writing that, dude. It's like, I hate applauding directors for hiring diverse casts because it's what they should do, but we don't live in that world. So that's why I do applaud people who actually think outside the box.